The rain fell in relentless sheets against the window of Detective Adrian Vance's office, blurring the city into a gray, indistinct smear. He stared at the file on his desk, the latest in a series that had begun 6 months ago. A home invasion in the suburbs, the perpetrators apprehended before they could even cross the threshold. A corporate embezzlement scheme halted at the moment the first fraudulent transfer was initiated. A planned kidnapping thwarted in a deserted parking lot. Each case was solved with impossible precision. Each criminal caught in the act, or just before it. And each file contained the same cryptic source, a single, untraceable email sent directly to Vance's private server. The sender identified themselves only as Cassandra. Vance had exhausted every technical avenue. The emails were encrypted ghosts, originating from dead servers, bouncing through a maze of proxies that vanished upon inspection. The information they contained was not just detailed, it was prophetic. It listed names, addresses, times, methods, the entire blueprint of a crime, often delivered hours, sometimes days, before the event was set to unfold. The department hailed him as a visionary, a modern-day Sherlock. Tess called him the pre-crime detective. Vance called it a nightmare. He was dancing on strings held by a phantom. His obsession had cost him sleep, his marriage, and now, perhaps, his sanity. The latest email had arrived at 3:17 a.m. It described a murder, scheduled for tonight at 11 p.m. at the old Grand Avenue Theater, a decaying jewel of the city's past. The victim, a retired judge, Silas Thorne. The perpetrator, a man named Leo Mercer, a former stagehand with a grudge buried deep in the theater's dusty archives. The motive was a 20-year-old wrongful conviction, a case Thorne had presided over. The method, a rigged stage pulley, designed to drop a heavy sandbag onto Thorne's seat during a private, nostalgic visit. Vance had already dispatched units to surveil both Thorne and Mercer. Thorne was under protective watch, unaware of the specific threat. Mercer had been picked up for questioning but released as they had no legal grounds to hold him. The crime hadn't happened yet. The theater was swarming with plainclothes officers. Everything was in place to intercept. Ket, a cold dread pooled in Vance's stomach. Cassandra had never been wrong. Quote, this felt different. The email was shorter, almost hurried, and it contained a new line, one that had never appeared before. The pattern completes tonight. Come and see. At 10:30 p.m., Vance stood in the shadows of the theater's orchestra pit. The smell of old wood, dust, and mildew thick in the air. The vast, velvet-draped space was silent, save for the creak of a distant door and the faint hum of the city outside. Judge Thorne sat alone in the third row, center seat, as per his nostalgic ritual, oblivious to the officers hidden. Above him, high in the fly loft, the massive sandbags hung like dormant threats. Vance's radio crackled. No sign of Mercer on the premises. All exits are covered. Thorne is secure, but the dread intensified. Come and see. He wasn't here just to prevent a crime. He was here to witness something, to complete a pattern. At 10:58 p.m., a figure emerged, not from the audience doors, but from the side of the stage itself. It wasn't Leo Mercer. It was a woman, dressed in dark, practical clothing, her face pale and sharp in the gloom. She walked calmly to center stage and looked directly at Vance's hiding place. Detective Vance, she said, her voice clear and steady in the cavernous silence. You can come out now. The arrest is over. Vance stepped forward, his heart hammering. Sandra. She gave a faint, tired smile. My name is Ilara. Silas Thorne isn't the victim tonight, Detective. He's the final perpetrator. Vance stared, his mind reeling. The pattern, Ilara continued, is a circle. 20 years ago, Thorne convicted an innocent man for the murder of my father. That man was Leo Mercer's brother. Mercer's planned revenge tonight was the final catalyst, but the true crime was Thorne's original sin. A deliberate, malicious verdict to cover his own corruption. He knew my father was about to expose him. Every crime I sent you was a thread leading back to this moment, to this man. The embezzlement was his former clerk. The home invasion targeted his mistress. The kidnapping plot involved his grandson. All were pieces of his decaying empire, collapsing under the weight of his past. Vance's radio erupted. "Detective, we have Leo Mercer in custody at his home. He was constructing a device." "But Judge Thorne, he's moving. He's heading backstage." Thorne had risen from his seat, his face a mask of panic and rage, and was now hurrying toward the stage wings, not toward an exit, but toward a hidden panel in the wall. "He knows," Ilara said, quietly. "He's been monitoring your progress, fearing the pattern would close in on him, The panel leads to old wiring, He's going to try to trigger the sandbag himself, to frame Mercer and end the threat permanently." Vance moved, shouting commands into his radio. Officers converged, but Thorne was fast, driven by decades of guilt and power. He reached the panel, yanked it open, and his hand darted inside. Ilara didn't flinch. "I calculated this too, Sharp, mechanical snap echoed from the flyloft, but not from the sandbag above Thorne's seat, From a different line. One that dropped a heavy, padded block safely onto the empty stage with a dull thud. The sandbag line had been disabled hours ago by Ilara herself. Thorne's tampering triggered a secondary mechanism, a loud alarm and a spotlight that blazed directly onto him, frozen with his hand in the wall, the picture of guilt. The theater flooded with light and shouting officers. Thorne was subdued, his dignified facade shattered into splinters of terror and defeat. Vance turned to Ilara. "You knew every crime. You orchestrated this entire unraveling." "I knew the crimes because I studied the man," she said, her eyes gleaming with a mix of triumph and profound sorrow. "I am a forensic data analyst. My father was the same. Thorne ruined us. I spent years mapping his connections, his secrets, his weaknesses. I needed the law to see him, but the law was blind, wrapped in his influence, so I gave the law a prophet. I gave you the future, so you could finally confront the past." Vance looked at the stunned judge, at the intricate web of justice that had just snapped shut around him. Cassandra had not been a psychic. She had been an architect, using the blueprint of future violence to excavate a buried past evil. "The man who knew every crime before it happened," Vance murmured, the title now tasting like ash. "It was never me." Ilara met his gaze. It was the man who committed the first one. He just didn't know his crime would have a future until tonight. Outside, the rain had finally stopped. The city, clear and sharp under the night sky, awaited its next dawn, unaware that one of its darkest shadows had just been cast into the light by a woman who knew tomorrow's sins because she had memorized yesterday's.